Second and goal. Myers is going to throw. Touchdown.
I think in this next coming year, we're going to be seeing some pretty big names move around quite a bit. But some of these guys should really consider staying where they're at, as the current situation that they're in probably can't get better elsewhere. The 2024 NFL free agent market is loaded with big-name superstars across every major position. On top of that, several other household names widely mentioned in trade rumors figure to find a new home once the new league year begins. So, how about we take a dive into 5 superstar players who will switch teams this offseason, and 5 who will stay put.
Everybody's talented. It's more so the little things and being on the same page and executing at a high level that makes you win games.
New team, Davante Adams. Adams had another excellent statistical season with the Las Vegas Raiders, but the team once again fell well short of the postseason. Adams expressed his frustration several times throughout the 2023 season, and it's hard to envision him wanting to finish out his prime years on a non-playoff contender. Makes sense for the Raiders to trade Adams in the offseason while his trade value isn't at an all-time high. That brings us to one team, the New York Jets. In November, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Jets actually tried acquiring Adams ahead of the trade deadline, but the Raiders wouldn't do business. Schefter added, however, that the Jets are expected to continue their pursuit of Adams in the offseason. Reason why is obvious. Adams and Aaron Rodgers were at their best when they had each other. Neither has enjoyed the same level of success since Adams left the Green Bay Packers 2 years ago. The Jets need another wide receiver to help Garrett Wilson, and Adams is the perfect target for a team in win-now mode. With Rodgers entering his age 40/41 season in 2024, the Jets' time to act is now. Adams caught 103 passes for 1,144 yards and 8 touchdowns with Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell as his quarterbacks. Now imagine what he could do with Rodgers. Both A-Rod and Adams are running out of time to win a championship together. It just makes too much sense for them to reunite in Gotham. It almost feels like it'd be a stunner if it didn't happen. Even if the Jets can't complete a deal for Adams, someone else out there has to. It's time for the future Hall of Famer to ring chase as he enters the final prime years of his career. Stay, Stephon Diggs. Many are calling for the Buffalo Bills to cut ties with Stephon Diggs after yet another disappointing postseason exit. For the 3rd straight year, Diggs was a non-factor in the Bills' season-ending postseason defeat. In the divisional round against the Kansas City Chiefs, he let a potential game-changing deep bomb from Josh Allen fall right through his hands. Diggs, who has a knack for complaining about his targets, finished the loss with only 3 receptions for 21 yards. Incredibly, he also hasn't caught a touchdown in his last 7 postseason games. But let's be real here, folks. What are the odds that the Bills' offense will function better without Diggs? Who else can they bring in to replace a guy with 4 straight seasons of 100-plus catches and over 1,100 yards receiving? The Bills' window to win is now while they have key guys like Diggs, Josh Allen, Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, James Cook, and Deion Dawkins in their primes. Trading Diggs makes the Bills worse, unless they're somehow bringing in Davante Adams or Justin Jefferson as replacements. And hey, newsflash, neither scenario is going to be happening. What Buffalo needs to do is actually find a capable number 2 receiver for once, so that way Allen can be less dependent on Diggs. The latter is still a superstar level player and number 1 receiver, and trading or cutting Diggs simply makes the Bills a worse team. The goal is to win a Super Bowl, so keep a player of Diggs' caliber. They've put up with his attitude problems for 4 years. They can do it again if it means enhancing their chances of winning a championship. New team, Kirk Cousins. Cousins is the top quarterback eligible to enter 2024 free agency. If both Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings play their cards right, he'll indeed hit the open market and play elsewhere next year. Cousins, who will be 36 years of age before next season rolls around, suffered a season-ending Achilles tear in Week 8 against the Green Bay Packers. For one, committing to a QB in his mid-30s with a serious injury like that carries too much risk. Secondly, Cousins and the Vikings have been the epitome of mediocre. 2 playoff appearances in 6 years. 1 postseason victory. At what point will the bar be elevated higher for a franchise that is starving for its first Super Bowl title? Surely head coach Kevin O'Connell is dying for an athletic young QB to build around, and there are plenty of options in this year's draft. Cousins, meanwhile, should be motivated to join a potential Super Bowl hopeful at this phase of his career. The Atlanta Falcons are a QB away from being a playoff team. The Denver Broncos could use Cousins to replace Russell Wilson. Or hey, what about the Pittsburgh Steelers if they aren't sold on Kenny Pickett? Possibly the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe they pull a stunner and replace Geno Smith with Cousins. The bottom line is, there are several QB-needy teams who offer Cousins a better chance to win a Super Bowl than Minnesota. The Vikings aren't going to sniff a title if they commit to Cousins and this aging core. It's just long overdue for both sides to finally move on. Minnie gets a young QB to rebuild around, and Cousins gets to chase a ring elsewhere. Win-win. Stay Christian Wilkins. Surprisingly, the Miami Dolphins and Wilkins were unable to reach a long-term extension ahead of the 2023 season. That worked out just fine for Wilkins anyway, who just elevated his market by piecing together his best season yet. The 2019 first-round pick finished with a career-high 9 sacks to go along with 2 pass defenses, 1 forced fumble, and a pair of fumble recoveries. Miami's hulking defensive tackle also finished 13th in ESPN's pass rush win rate among defensive tackles. So in short, why would the Dolphins let Wilkins go, and why would he want to play somewhere else? Coming off the team's best regular season finish in 15 years, the window of opportunity is just now starting to open in South Beach. The Dolphins can't let a young superstar of his caliber go, and they won't. They'll assign the franchise tag to Wilkins and see if a long-term deal can actually be reached. Also, playing in a state that doesn't have the income tax helps Miami's chances of offering Wilkins more money than anybody else. He's not going anywhere. Nothing to see here. New team, T. Higgins. After failing to reach a new deal ahead of the 2023 season, Higgins seems poised to hit the free agent market. The Cincinnati Bengals are notoriously budget conscious, and they still have to pay top wide receiver Jamar Chase down the road. Also, Joe Burrow's mega extension is about to kick in. Higgins has proven that he'd easily be a number 1 receiver on most other teams, and he'll likely get paid like one if he hits the open market. It's just hard to see the big-bodied wideout taking a hometown discount when he knows it means less targets with Cincinnati. There are other Super Bowl contenders that could offer Higgins a lot of money and a chance to win. The Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Houston Texans, Cleveland Browns, and Green Bay Packers are just a handful of competitive teams that make sense for Higgins. The Bengals' budget-conscious front office will likely just trust Burrow to make a new star wide receiver on the cheap. I mean, this is a heavy wide receiver draft class after all. Bottom line, Higgins is bound to get a big bag of money from another team that will make him their number 1 receiver. Tea time in Cincinnati is over, folks. Stay Mike Evans. It felt like for much of the season that Evans was playing out his final days with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was entering his contract year, and Tom Brady's departure seemingly indicated that the Bucs' competitive window was closed. But Baker Mayfield turned in a comeback player of the year caliber season and led the Bucs to a surprise NFC South Division title. As usual, Evans was the catalyst of the offense by finishing with 79 receptions for 1,255 yards and 13 touchdowns, being tied with Tyreek Hill for tops in the NFL. Evans has always been loyal to the Bucs, even committing to years of mediocrity there long before TB12 arrived. With Evans still in his prime and forming excellent chemistry with Mayfield, why should he leave? Assuming Tampa keeps Mayfield, they may as well ask Evans to fill out a blank check. It's only fair for him to finish out the rest of his prime years right where it started. New team, Brian Burns. The Carolina Panthers will most certainly place the franchise tag on Burns if they can't come to an agreement on a new deal. And if that happens, Burns has to push his way out of town. He is the only bona fide superstar on a circus of a Carolina Panthers team led by the league's new worst owner in David Tepper. We say new because Dan Snyder is finally gone. Good riddance, by the way. So why should Burns commit to a losing team long-term when they have no clear path to success? Tepper is too hands-on as an owner, and the Panthers have very, very little draft capital right now after last year's ill-fated trade-up for Bryce Young. Well, Carolina has to find a way to recoup some of them picks, so why not place a tag on Burns and then sell him to the highest bidder? The Panthers won't get an offer of 2 first-rounders like the one they turned down from the Los Angeles Rams in 2022, but a young superstar pass rusher just entering his prime is still going to get multiple early-round selections. Burns needs to hold firm and refuse to commit to Carolina long-term. Then they need to trade him and start rebuilding the defense again. With extra picks and a plethora of cap space, that's certainly manageable. Bottom line, it is now time for Burns to take his talents somewhere else. Stay Josh Allen. The Jacksonville Jaguars star edge rusher just completed his rookie contract and is set to earn a life-changing payday after turning in a career year. The 2019 first-round pick racked up a career-high 17.5 sacks to go along with an interception, 1 pass defense, and 2 forced fumbles. With the Jaguars' Super Bowl window just beginning to open under young stars like Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Trayvon Walker, and Tyson Campbell, the goal is to retain your core guys and win with them. This is a no-brainer for the Jaguars to pay Allen whatever the heck he wants. Allen and Walker are game-changing pass rushers that can make a difference in a playoff game against the likes of Patrick Mahomes, the other Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. Allen is going nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. New team, Saquon Barkley. It honestly makes no sense that the New York Giants decided to hold on to Barkley rather than trade him at the deadline. Anywho, I suppose if that's how they want to operate. Barkley and the Giants just couldn't agree to a new deal last year, even though he was coming off his best season yet. Surely a lousy Giants team won't want to commit long-term to an injury-prone guy who plays a devaluing position, right? Look, it just makes too much sense for Barkley to thank the Giants for the 6 years and move on. Why should the explosive do-it-all running back waste his prime on a miserable Giants team when he can go ring-chasing this year? Barkley can still get a very nice payday from a team that actually has Super Bowl aspirations. We just can't bear the idea of him following Barry Sanders' footsteps by spending his entire career with one team that simply wasted the bulk of his prime years. Here's hoping that Barkley goes the Christian McCaffrey route by joining a bona fide title contender that'll actually help maximize his talents. I mean, how fun would Barkley be in Baltimore or KC, for example? Stay Chris Jones. Jones missed the Kansas City Chiefs' Week 1 opener against the Detroit Lions due to a contract dispute. The two sides finally reached a compromise in Week 2, and he looked like his good old self throughout the year. Stone Cold Jones had 10.5 sacks and 4 pass defenses in 16 games. He also placed second in ESPN's pass rush win rate among defensive tackles, finishing only behind none other than Aaron Donald. Jones remains the heart and soul of Kansas City's defense. His one-game holdout was a reminder of just how badly the two parties need each other, and just how much happier they are together. Jones may as well take a bit of a discount to remain with the only NFL team that he's ever known, one that promises him annual Super Bowl contention. I mean, seriously, what's the sense of taking a few extra dollars on a team that can't promise him multiple shots at more championship rings? Add it all up, and Jones staying in Kansas City is the only option that makes sense. The partnership has to, and most certainly will, continue well past 2024. But which other NFL superstars do you think will switch teams in the offseason? And which ones will stay where they are? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.